Today, we are doing resampling, and it's really, really exciting. We're going to learn how to make some cool sounds, and we're going to learn about all the different reasons why you would do resampling. And we're going to learn how to make sounds like this. Whoa, Nelly! Whoa, Nelly! All right, so let's just talk about resampling as such, because this is a class, this is about resampling. This is different than mud pies. There's basically, as I see it, three different main reasons why you would use resampling. Okay, and when we start with why, I'm going to be able to show you these techniques and they'll make sense. Okay, so the first reason why you would use resampling is for sound design, right? There are some sounds like this one that are best made by resampling. You can get a similar type of sound. You can definitely get a similar type of sound without resampling, but I find just some of the features in the sampler, especially when you get the pitch bend. Right? That shit just sounds awesome, and you're not going to be able to get pitch bends and stuff that sound like that without resampling. Okay, so the first reason is for making some of these classic resampler style basses, like that Noisia Morphe Neuro bass. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Right, the second type of resampling is when you are basically resampling during a sound design session. And I will often do this while I'm writing too. And you'll be working on a synth on one channel, and then you'll have a second channel set to resampling. And basically, you make the patch, you sample it, you change some stuff, you sample it again, you change some stuff, you sample it again, you change some stuff, you sample it again. And then you have like this folder basically of just like different iterations of your sound. So you can use resampling for a pure sound design session where you're trying to make sounds that you can only make through resampling, such as this sort of a Reese with the pitch bend, because this is just really the only good way to do this. Right? You're not going to get those kind of bendy Reese sounds without resampling. Like if you're automating the transpose in a clip, it just doesn't quite sound like that. Okay, so there's the sound design reason. There's the iterative reason where you want to create a lot of iterations on a sound and save them into a folder. There is resampling when you're doing it to generate new articulations when you're working on a track. The classic example of that is my track Ice Bucket, where I took that same melody and I loaded it through all of these different instruments and different presets to get the same MIDI melody replayed a bunch of different ways on a bunch of different instruments. And that one I call creating a loop menu, because you're basically you're taking a specific MIDI part for a specific MIDI song, and then you are running that through all of these different presets, all of these different instruments, etc. And then that one is kind of more melody specific and more track specific. Okay, so those are the three different main types of resampling that I want you to just kind of be hip to before we go down the rabbit hole. So there's the sound design resampling for doing things like making neuro basses. There's iterative resampling for generating a folder of options of a sound, a folder of sampled options, and this is typically done during a sound design session. The sound design resampling, like making Noisia style neuro basses, and iterative resampling, these are typically done in a separate sound design session. They can be done within the sound design for a given song, but usually they're done in a separate session. And then there's resampling for articulation when you're making like a loop menu, or when you're making like mud pies for a specific track or whatever. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get into making some Neuro Bass. Okay, so this process, basically, I'll show you how this process works, and I'll just show you, I'll just do it from scratch once, just so you can see how it works. And then I have these kind of more prepared ones later, so you can see them a little tighter. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take any synth. Okay, you can use pretty much any synth. I'm gonna start with operator, because this is kind of like the classic way that people do it. I like to do it with analog personally, and I'll show you why in a minute. But a lot of the time people would like to do it with operator. So let's go over here. And then let's make a clip that is going to be a nice long clip. And I'm going to do like a nice low F. Low F, as low as it goes. So we get a sine wave that's just an F. Right? And now, if you go into the oscillator, you can draw in some harmonics and just kind of make that a little bit more harmonically rich, because we want to generate a harmonically rich bass sound that we're going to carve out of with these EQs and everything. So I'm engaging in additive synthesis here, adding some partials. Okay, that's nice. So now let's FM this, and I'm going to turn this second oscillator up. That's nice. And now let's do a third one. Okay, I like the way those are sounding. So now I'm going to group this, and I want to map these FM macros, or these FM sounds, to be controlled by some macros. So we're going to add some movement to these. Okay, so now I'm going to go in, I'm going to draw some automations to give us some movement. Okay, so like something like that. Now I'm going to do the second one here. And then this will get us our kind of like raw oscillator for resampling. And now I'm going to make a new MIDI track, and I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it in here. And now we have our resampled sound. So then the resampled sound, I'm going to go into the controls here on this guy. I'm going to turn this simpler into a sampler. I'm going to loop it going forwards and backwards, and then I'm going to go into some of the sound capabilities of the sampler, and you'll see this thing really come to life. So I'm going to turn the spread up. All right, I'm going to put another OTT at the end. All right, now if I go into this filter, right here, actually I'll put a double OTT, and then I'm going to put a clipper. Again, you always want to have that clipper at the end to just kind of keep the level consistent. Now, if I go into this modulation tab and I turn on LFO2 and modulate the filter, for example, right, that starts sounding pretty cool right away. Also, if you go into this filter tab and you set the filter to a morphing filter, right, right, and then you can put another LFO to control the filter morph. That can sound really cool. And that filter is going to be changing from being like a low pass to a band pass to whatever else. And then the main reason why I have sampler is that I want to turn this pitch bend range up. Right, so then I'm going to just go here, I'm going to make a clip, and I'm going to play the pitch bend. Right, you get that sort of thing. And then you can, so that's the basic process, and then you can always go back to here, to this first sound, and let's say I want to change some stuff about it. I'm going to delete the duplicate, go back into the original sound, change the wavetable. Or maybe I'll make... Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate it and do the detuning again. Okay, I'm going to freeze that. And then because you've made this kind of like factory here, right? If I bring that down, that gives us a different sound, and then I can go into my sampler and replace this and get a very different sounding sound. Now this is going to sound. So you've essentially just kind of created like a little factory, right? And if you swap out any of the stages in this factory, like maybe you go back to the original sample oscillator, and maybe you do it with like a different different additive synthesis wavetable, like I did it with like a kind of square wave there in the harmonic spectrum. If you just max it out, it makes like a perfect digital square wave or a saw wave or whatever. Then you can get these kind of really radically different versions, right? So I'm going to just say, put this in a group, and I'm going to call this new sound design operator. Right, but you can see here I did it. This is one where I spent a little more time on it. So this was the raw oscillator. This is a modified version with this is one set of sampler properties, and yeah, sometimes I'll put this no pain zone rack at the end too. So this is one version of it. And then this is another. Right, so it's just different properties. You know, maybe you change the way the filter is on this one versus this one. You know, the filter's a little different. I have some FM happening on this one, whereas this one I believe has no FM happening. Yeah, this one has no FM. Yeah, so you can add FM to it, like. And the reason that pitch bend sounds so sick, right, is you're bending, like if I, like, let's say I go over here to the raw sample. Let's go back to our new sound, and I unfreeze that. And I'll go here. Listen to the way the pitch bend sounds on just like the raw sound. Oopsie. Undo that, undo that. Oh no. Okay, looks like I gotta go back a bunch to go here. Whoa, what's going on? Okay, let's go back over here. There we go. So let's say I go back over here and I unfreeze this. Now watch what happens when I play the pitch bend here. It's not gonna sound anything like that. Like it's bent, but it's not bending the reverb. It's not bending the multi-band split. Like when you have that multi-band distortion, and you're bending it, you're hearing those split points on the multi-band distortion moving. What the highs now occupy a whole bunch more of the spectrum. The reverb is bending. All these different things are bending, right? And you're not hearing that. All the effects are staying the same. The only thing that's bending is the oscillator when I do this. So here you can see this is what it sounds like with just the oscillator bending. Like you hear the way those reverbs are staying the same, all that staying the same. But then this is after resampling. Now listen. So you can hear all that texture moving.